Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 64 of my modded Factorio playthrough. Enjoy. Okay, now we need to put it in its final spot and hook up the pumps. Okay, and pick everything up. Let's see. I don't want it to compete with space with anything else. But I also like having things be straight. So let's have it be coming up through there. Yeah, something like this ought to work. Let's do it. Oh wow, oops. I trapped myself in here. Yeah, I was worried he was going to run some stuff over. So the Seafloor Pump is necessary to start the process. We can put that right there. Connect it in. And then we need some water. We're actually producing water down here. So we should be able to tap in it. Those water pumps actually produce quite a bit per second. So I think we can probably pipe it in just fine without any negative consequences. You know, and that's one less machine, so seems like a good deal. Okay. So one thing to note about the Seafloor Pump is it does not require any electricity. So it's just how it is. We have carbon dioxide, which needs to go out, and fuel, which needs to go in. Now, the carbon dioxide is going to be a little weird. We're going to have to make a small change to the factory here. Because we are producing carbon dioxide, and there's no limiting factor on this, so we just fill up the storage tank. But this won't work, because if we produce carbon dioxide, it won't have anywhere to go. So we need to do a bit of a circuit network for this. And what we have here, and this is going to happen many times with angels, is that you have a product which you need to produce and you need to consume, and that it is unacceptable for you to run out of product or to have no space to put new product. It's kind of strange to think about, but this tank can never be empty and this tank can never be full, is essentially the way to look at it. So the thing we can control here is how full it is. Now, you can use pumps and all that stuff and use a circuit network, and that's fine. There's different ways of doing it. But I think the cleanest way is just to control the inserters on the machine actually producing the product you're trying to regulate. So we can control how much carbon dioxide we're making by how much we're fueling the liquefiers making the carbon dioxide in the first place. So we will attach those inserters to the circuit network and then move the signal wire all the way to the tank. And also we need to do it for the other side. You see right now there's a little red light on there because they are disabled, because they have no enabled condition. So let's search for carbon dioxide. So how full should the tank be? Well, if it can't be empty and can't be full, the place in the middle is half. And if the tank holds 25,000, that would be 12,500. And that seems good enough. You see, oops, but it's the wrong direction. It needs to be less than 25,000. There we go. I noticed that the light on the inserter turned green, and that is incorrect. They need to stay red. So now they're saying, well, the tank is full. It's more full than it needs to be, so we're not going to put anything else in there. Now, 50% may not be the best amount, depending on your situation. And the reason is that the amount of force that the fluid moves through the pipes depends on how full the tank is. So if your pipes are only half full, then they're not going to flow as far without the use of pumps. So there might be a situation where you would rather have this tank be at 90% full or something like that. It's not a problem here because there's a pump attached right to the tank, so it doesn't matter. But it is something to keep in mind. Like, for example, if this tank was half full and there wasn't a pump here, then this line would be half full. And that might cause fluid flow problems in the future. So it's something to keep in mind. Next step here is moving the carbon dioxide down. The carbon dioxide is on the outside of the belt, so it might work well to put it on the top of this water line right here. And the problem is that these there's different technology levels for these pipes, so these stone pipes can't reach as far as our steel ones can, so in spirit of not running into them as I'm using the road, I'm going to try to keep them spaced equally. But it looks like it's causing a problem here because it won't reach past this tank. But if we're willing to make it a little asymmetrical, we can make it flow and then just replace the inserter and put it there so it's balanced. And then we can hook up the carbon dioxide here. So basically, just as we're producing our spare carbon dioxide, it's going to be sent through the pipes and in here and flow to all the necessary locations and into the storage tank. They're all going to balance out in the end. So let's move this pipe down. Might as well cut those trees down since they're a little in the way. There we go. Now, see how these pipes are filling up. So originally the storage tank was completely full, but now it's going to be less than completely full because it's filling up all these pipes. And the reason why the storage tank stayed full after we turned the inserters off is because it's daytime. And the only thing we're making that carbon dioxide for is to make carbon, and the carbon is our fuel. So if we're not burning any fuel, the carbon dioxide level is not going to go down for any reason. So, but it went down a little bit since we filled these pipes up, so now there should be space for these machines to work. So now the last step is getting the fuel up there. Looks like the closest source of fuel is right here. So we can kind of pipe it in right there. And then create an underground. And by the way, we're going to create more fuel in order to fill up this belt, which is going to consume even more of that carbon dioxide. And actually, now that I think about it, that might be an excellent situation to create some signal lights, like we did with other tanks. But I think I'll put it off for now, since the stock tanks actually do have a level indicator, so we can kind of tell if it's okay just by looking at it. But when we upgrade the tanks to their higher versions that don't have indicators on them, that'll be a situation for some signal lights. Fuel's gotten everywhere it needs to go. It's time to fire this up and see if everything works or if huge miscalculations were involved. So I guess we can put that there and put a light. And slowly all of these lights should start turning green. See, our mud production is going down. Looks like we're making sand now. And since we're using like 90% of the total output of this thing, it's going to take a couple seconds for all the machines to fill up to the maximum capacity. And then it'll eventually balance out and start producing, hopefully. If not, then we have a problem. This one hasn't gone off yet. Neither has this mud machine. You see, since they hold 200 total resources, all the machines are going to fill up first before extra resources are available for the machines that aren't running. And also, I believe each machine holds a stack of resources, so that's going to have to fill up, but... Alright, so it looks like the limestone is fired up now, so that's good to see. And there it goes. Now we're producing bricks. Oops, we didn't put our fuel inserter on here. Let's put one there. It's it's not running completely green because this inserter isn't running, but it eventually will. Now the only light that isn't going to be perpetually green is this one up here, because it's going to have 10% of the original water left over that's not necessary. But also, whether these lights are green or not that important, we would just want to see all of these green. And they are, which is good. I am pleased. We are chugging out the bricks. We've already got 100 of them. Awesome. I'm glad this setup worked. It's different than my previous one. And actually, just as an example, I made one and saved it in the blueprint book. So you can see my original setup was kind of linear. It didn't combine the different fluid processing into one line. So this is pretty big, and it only has one assembling machine, where this is smaller and has 3. That's kind of the advantage of Factorio and being willing to rebuild your machines every gameplay, because you find new and better ways of doing things. And that's always exciting and satisfying. And although this isn't particularly symmetrical looking, it's compact and it seems fast, so I like it. I think the question is it limited by mud or limited by clay, or is it limited by sand? Yeah, it seems like the limiting factor is actually still this clay. And actually it's the clay and the limestone, since they are actually producing them at an identical rate as necessary for these machines. So, setup looks good. Let's pick up some of those bricks. So, clay bricks. What are they good for? Ooh, and landfill. Well, clay bricks are identical to regular bricks in the sense of using them as paths. They're 130% compared to 130%. So there's what clay looks like, and there's what bricks look like. Problem is, clay is just kind of ugly looking. It's not too bad by itself, but when you have it mixed with something else, it just, I don't know. I tend to avoid their use for paths just because it just doesn't look very good. But, I mean, you see it's identical. There's no speed difference between walking on clay and walking on stone. And clay is free where stone is not, so it's something to keep in mind. We have something immediate that we can do with this clay, and that is upgrade our sorting machines. So if we come in here, we've got some ore sorting facilities, 4 of them. We can turn them into the upgraded version. That's all the time we have for today, so I'll see you at the next episode. Thanks for watching.